What if Bo-Katan killed Darth Maul? Our story begins in the throne room on Mandalore, where Darth Maul stands above the beaten Pre-Vizsla. Maul claims the Darksaber for himself, and in one swift motion, removes Vizsla's head from his neck. Bo stared and felt the agony of her friend's death. Her gut wrenched at the pain of his loss. Anger swelled within her. She had to get revenge. She wouldn't let Vizsla die in vain. She blasts forward, igniting her jetpack and lays gunfire at Maul. The other Mandalorians follow. The Sith Lord deflected the shots with ease, but in one brutal act, Bo reaches out with her grapple gun and steals the Darksaber. Turning the blade on, she pierced Maul through the stomach and watched as he took his final breath. Bo-Katan stood there, panting and shaking with rage and adrenaline. She had done it. She had killed Darth Maul and taken control of the Darksaber. Mandalore was hers. Bo-Katan wasted no time in consolidating her power. She reached out to all of the clans in Mandalore and invited them to join her in a new era of prosperity and unity. Going on a campaign all around the planet, she stood before clans and held the Darksaber above her head. The Darksaber gives the wielder the power and strength to rule Mandalore. Since ancient times, it has been said that whoever wields the Darksaber may take the throne of Mandalore. Bo-Katan reminded each clan of the significance of this ancient weapon. Most of the clans responded positively, eager to follow a strong leader who could bring them security and stability. The unification of all of the clans and factions of Mandalore had not been seen for thousands of years. Clan Elder, Kryze, Rook, Saxon, Vizsla and many more joined the alliance and became one again. When separated, Mandalore was a nation full of civil war and never powerful enough to make progression throughout the galaxy. But when they worked together, their power exceeded the greatest empires that the history of the galaxy had ever seen. But one clan refused to join her. Clan Wren, led by Ursa Wren. They had always been fiercely independent, and they were not about to bow to Bo-Katan's authority. Bo-Katan tried to reason with Ursa Wren, but the clan leader would not budge. In the end, Bo-Katan decided to make an example of them. She launched a brutal campaign against Clan Wren, wiping them out and leaving their city in ruins. It was a harsh lesson, but Bo-Katan knew that she needed to show that she was not to be trifled with. This act solidified her rule over Mandalore and brought any clans who were still indecisive to immediately bend the knee. If they didn't, their fate would be the same as Clan Wren. With Clan Wren dealt with, Bo-Katan turned her attention to the rest of the galaxy. Mandalore was now a real threat, a powerful nation that could not be ignored. Bo-Katan was determined to make Mandalore a force to be reckoned with, and she poured all of her resources into building up her military and her economy. For over a year, things went well. Mandalore prospered, and Bo-Katan was hailed as a hero. But everything changed when the Jedi Purge happened. The historic Jedi Order fell to ruins after losing the Clone Wars, and the Empire rose to power. Mandalore suddenly found itself on the wrong side of the law. At first, Bo-Katan thought that she could continue to thrive under the new regime. Mandalore had always been an independent system that rarely interfered with galactic issues and laws. With this sudden change of power, Bo thought the same rules that have dominated her civilization for hundreds of years would stay the same. Little did she know, she was very wrong. For the opening years of the Empire, Mandalore was left alone to do whatever they wished, and the Empire focused on securing their hold over the galaxy. This gave Mandalore more time to build their forces and military in case of war. Bo-Katan quickly grew to fear the looming Empire. After 4 years of Imperial reign, the Emperor had decided that Mandalore was posing itself as a threat to the Empire, and ordered them to bend the knee or die. The answer to this was second nature to Bo-Katan. She refused and welcomed war if that is what must happen in order to resolve this conflict. Lord Vader was sent to Mandalore with a gigantic fleet of Star Destroyers and Stormtroopers. They were going to storm the planet and take it for themselves. This was the largest military campaign that the galaxy had ever seen. Millions would die, perhaps even billions. Bo-Katan thought that she could hold off the Empire and even defeat them, but she had completely underestimated her opponent. The ground assault was led by Lord Vader himself, who charged at his enemy. Hundreds of thousands of Mandalorians fought for their home world and their lives. Mandalorians had a strong reputation of being extremely gifted warriors. One Mandalorian could amount to 20 or more stormtroopers. But the Empire just kept coming. Their numbers were so unbelievably large. Above the planet reigned the Imperial Starfleet against the Mandalorian fleet. As the stories of their battles were always told, they had less fighters than their opponent, but were far more skilled. The battle for the atmosphere had begun. Vader fought through the capital city, Sundari, until he made his way to the throne room. He entered and found Bo-Katan looking out the window at the carnage that was her home. Vader spoke, saying that it was over and she should surrender now before more Mandalorians die. But Bo-Katan didn't listen. Surrender was not an option. Vader ignited his blade and challenged Bo-Katan. Katan followed by revealing the Darksaber, a weapon to rival a lightsaber. They engaged in a duel that was fast and deadly. Vader remembered who Bo-Katan was. In his old life as Anakin Skywalker, he had met her on numerous occasions and even fought alongside her in battle. But for Bo-Katan, the man she faced wasn't human. He encapsulated all the wrong qualities of humanity. A nightmare in the flesh. She was outmatched. From the moment their blades first touched, she knew it. But she couldn't betray her creed and beg for mercy. She would fight to the very end, like a true Mandalorian would. Within seconds, Vader would push her to the ground with the Force and remove the Darksaber from her grip. She tried to pull the blade back with her grapple gun, but Vader stood on the hilt and stopped it from moving. The ancient weapon now belonged to Lord Vader. Bo was defenseless and expected death. Vader grabbed a hold of Bo-Katan and pulled her over his shoulder. As they marched outside, they could see the full extent of damage to Mandalore. Fire and destruction was everywhere. Bullets flew past their face as they moved towards his ship. Vader grabbed her by the neck and held her in front of the entire Mandalorian army. Their leader was defeated. Vader commanded they surrender or she will die. But Bo screams at her people to keep fighting and never give up. In this moment, she struggles to escape his grip and stomps on his foot, causing Vader to groan and release her. But out of nowhere, a group of Mandalorians came to her rescue, firing upon Vader and detonating explosives all around them. Whilst he was distracted and blocking incoming laser bolts, Bo-Katan fled Vader. They had lost Mandalore and thousands of Mandalorians along with it. They got away and left the planet, going back to Kalevala, which was close and also contained a lot of allies like Clan Kryze, Bo-Katan's family. Mandalore was taken under control by the Empire, and Bo had to recover after her loss. She had lost her great weapon, the Darksaber, and the clans were beginning to lose faith in her. One cannot truly rule Mandalore and unify all the clans without the Darksaber. All she had left was her family clan Kryze. They needed to recover the Darksaber to unite the factions again. Without it, all hope would be lost. They began devising a plan to retake the saber from Vader. The best way to do this was to get Vader alone. The plan is to deceive Lord Vader. They offer to trade Bo-Katan for Mandalore's freedom, to try lure Vader out from the shadows and then kill him. An offer he accepted, but never planned to keep. Vader hated leaving an opponent alive. He hated unfinished business and sought to correct his mistakes. Vader comes to Kalevala expecting to march in and take Bo quickly, with little resistance. Vader was extremely arrogant. He always had been, and it is one of his worst traits. He arrives on the planet and exits his ship. Vader only brought a small squad of troopers in case of any threats. he is greeted by some Mandalorians who welcome him to the planet. When he asks where Bo-Katan is, a large group of Mandalorians fly into the air and begin to fire upon him. The Mandalorians were powerful and had a large arsenal of weaponry to take down the Sith Lord. The stormtroopers fell with ease as they had no protection, but Vader was still ruthless. To taunt the Mandalorians, he ignited the Darksaber alongside his crimson red one. With both weapons lit, he could fend off against a large legion of troopers. But more came at him. They blasted fire towards him and constant gunfire. He began to falter, and when hope seems lost, a Mandalorian reached out with their arm and grabbed control of one of Vader's hands. Another saw what he was doing, and she too grabbed onto his hand. Together, the Mandalorians were able to use their unique grapple cords to take control of Vader's body and force him to the ground. He was paralyzed, stationary, and couldn't move. Vader grunts and feels his anger swelling within him. He looks up to see Bo-Katan marching towards him. She had won. Her leadership allowed her to take Vader down and reclaim the Darksaber. She picked the saber up and raised it above her head, demonstrating her power to all the Mandalorians as they watched in awe. This was the leader they remembered. Bo-Katan focused her attention on Vader, who was still under the control of hundreds of grapple guns. He didn't struggle to get out anymore. It was almost like he had given up. Bo-Katan declared that Vader is sentenced to death for his crimes against Mandalore. She raises the Darksaber above her head and prepares to strike. As she goes to swing it downward and kill the Sith for good, she feels a sharp pain through her chest. She looks down and sees a red blade emitting through her body. Before any words can escape her lips, she falls to the floor dead. The Mandalorians gasp in confusion and anger. They didn't understand who could have done this. Vader is tied up right in front of them. But then a dark figure emerges from the shadows. Lord Vader's secret apprentice, Starkiller, was responsible. He calls his lightsaber back to his grip and focuses attention on the ravaging Mandalorians. They all seek revenge, and Starkiller wished to see them all dead. He leaps forward and starts slaughtering them, cutting each Mandalorian down one by one. He wasn't struggling. His force powers were far too strong for a mere Mandalorian to defeat him. He used the force to make the Mandalorians collide midair and their jetpacks to explode. Lightning emerged from his fingertips as it hit countless troopers at once. He was making easy work of them. He finally cuts Vader free and throws him his lightsaber before Vader joins in on the slaughter. Vader had sensed the trap and welcomed it, using it to his advantage. Bo-Katan thought she had Vader dancing in her palm, but Vader already had his grip around her neck, playing her like a fool. Clan Kreese's plan had failed. They were all dead and the Empire was as strong as ever. Vader ordered the arrival of more troops and officers to Kalevala and placed it under Imperial control. Mandalore had hopes of gaining the strength it possessed in the past, but the Empire was already too strong. If the Mandalorians had enough time, perhaps 10 more years, they could build their own empire strong enough to rival the Empire. But time was not on their side, and so the Mandalorian Empire fell. Sidious was far too cunning and Bo-Katan was not powerful enough to stop his decades-long plan. He had been thinking of every outcome for almost half a century. He would not let the small planet of Mandalore interrupt that. The entire Mandalorian system was stolen from the Mandalorians and placed into the hands of the Empire. Other planets, like Concordia, were also forced to follow the Empire, otherwise they would be wiped out too. Bo-Katan had done everything she could in order to help her people, but in the end, the Empire was far too ruthless and dangerous. Sidious took enjoyment in the destruction of Mandalore. He was avenging the Sith Lords of old. They blindly followed orders and killed anyone in front of them. Vader tells Starkiller that he could sense his presence the second he stepped off his ship. Not even Palpatine knew of Starkiller's existence, which made his apprentice in front of the Mandalorians more spectacular. Together, Vader and Starkiller wiped the Mandalorians off the face of existence and began plotting their next target, Emperor Palpatine himself. If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch What If Obi-Wan Killed Anakin, or What If General Grievous Killed Obi-Wan. Please check out our Patreon if you would like to support the channel. The link is in the description below. All proceeds go towards making better videos for you guys. Thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you.